Welcome back to America's Front Line, where we talk about some of the toughest issues facing Americans today. Today we are going to talk about toxic masculinity. All right, what are your thoughts on toxic masculinity?
I don't want to talk first. I don't want to be toxic. Go ahead, Ken.
Well, I wouldn't want to be dominant. I think that the term has been abused. I think that it is now being used to dumb down the U.S. Male mentality. I think it's used to suppress the natural tendencies of men. But I think it's also doing a major disservice. I mean, nowadays you're expected to be in the house and be less aggressive and more feeling, but then we're also expected to go out and perform the protective, part of our responsibilities. I've always said that men have the ability, which most women don't, to put things in a box, emotions, put it away, store it while I do the hard work. But I think we're losing that ability. I think the colleges are teaching us to go into a room and color with crayons and have a cry session. And I just think it's destroying the country as a country designed for go-getters and people that could achieve things that no one else could.
I think the term itself is kind of what really bothers me, the putting it together, toxic masculinity. I've discussed this before. I've heard several other people speak on this topic before. There's just toxic traits, right? Whether you're a man or whether you're a woman. So I kind of, I'm not one of those to say, hey, quit using that. But I would say to the general population, there's toxic traits, toxic feminine traits, toxic masculine traits. And so that it doesn't automatically go together. I think in this world, in today's world, I'm raising two young men myself, actually three young men myself, right? I would say that I'm teaching them to be men. And I don't know when that became bad. I don't know when that became something wrong to say, hey, I'm raising young men as opposed to raising young women. There is a difference. I don't believe in this sense of the fallacy of sameness or androgyny. I don't know what the correct term is these days. I'm probably going to be canceled or someone's going to send me a message, not the correct term. But I hope everybody understands what I mean. Men and women are different, and there's a certain expectation. I've even spoken to women who call themselves feminist or part of the feminist movement, postmodern feminist, whatever you want to use. But it's funny when they describe who they're looking for, they often describe a man that is a provider and a protector. And I don't know when that became such a bad thing. Like I said, I just feel this whole modern thing of labeling us as something bad, that you don't need a man.
Well, that's masculinity.
Yeah.
In a nutshell. When did that become toxic?
Yeah. Oh.
Where is this coming from?
Ken, I mean, you've been around for a long time. Go ahead. So if we want to trace it back historically, please.
There was this club.
I'm sorry about that.
So back when you were hunting saber-toothed tigers to provide for your family.
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll edit that. Sorry about that.
I really think that it started back with the women's movement. Now, obviously I believe in a lot of the goals of the original women's movement, but I think they've deviated from what they originally intended to do. I think that eventually it was not only are we equal to men in many ways, but we want men to be dumbed down so that we can move up, so that we're equivalent. And as with most of the leftist type movements, it's not I'm going to step up to match your abilities. It's I want you to step down.
Yeah.
So I think this is just an extension of that methodology. I'm entirely opposed to it. In fact, I identify as a person who doesn't give a darn what phrase you use.
Yeah, no, I see it. Look, I've worked in areas that are predominantly dominated by males, right? In the Marine Corps and police work. I've worked with females. Some of my best supervisors I ever had were females. Big shout out to Chief Fox from San Antonio Police Department, Karen Fox. She was a tremendous leader and did tremendous things. She was a female leader in the department. And I can tell you, though, I think that most people recognize that the same physical abilities that a man has is not the same physical abilities that a woman has. And I hope everybody with common sense knows I'm not knocking anybody. That's physiology. That's biology. And I see it all the time when I would be in certain situations and watch a woman multitask. It's unreal, right? They can do many, many, many things at once. However, when I'm in a situation and I happen to be in a bad situation on the street and it got physical, it got violent, I fault me for it. I was very happy that I had certain males there who took care of the situation. And that's as simple as I can say it. Men and women can do a lot of the same jobs, but to put this out to our children, to our young men and women, and say you are the same, that's a disservice to them moving forward. It really is.
What's the difference between equality and equality of outcome?
Sure.
Right? Like, do you really want equality between the sexes? Men and women have the same rights. Am I correct, right?
Amen. 100%.
Okay. We all have the same rights. So we have the equality of opportunity. And of outcome, right? So, but not all women want to be a bricklayer, police officer, fireman, oil worker, ditch digger, like some of these hard labor jobs, coal miner, dangerous, hard jobs, steel worker. Not that women can't do it, but I think a lot of women probably don't want to do that. So what are we pushing for? And also to go back to the toxic masculinity, which I think is a contrived term. I think there's just, there's masculinity, and some of it's not bad. I think you're right. Like, there's toxic traits among all human beings, but there's shared traits that are toxic. And it's not, and I don't think masculinity should be tied to it, because masculinity, when I grew up, it was a good thing, and there's a little bit of, I don't know what to coin the term, but a little bit of craziness that goes along with it. But when you're in a burning building, who do you want to come rush in through that fire and pull you out? I'm 285 pounds.
You're how much? I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
I'm 6'2", 285.
Oh, okay, good.
I want a man, or a woman if she's capable, it's fine with me. But I want that masculine trait. I want that let's go crazy, like head first into that fire and grab me and pull me out. Like, I think there's something to be said for masculinity, that it's needed in some cases.
I'm going to take the other side of the fence just for half a second.
Sure.
My sister is a battalion chief for the City of Los Angeles Fire Department. And I've had this discussion with her. When they started changing the requirements, she got into the program when they hadn't changed the physical requirements. She had to do everything a man could do. She could throw a ladder with the best of them. She has now stayed in the system, and she's in the latter parts of her career. But when they started dumbing down the physical requirements so that more women could qualify, she opposed it. I think it's what you touched on. I think the opportunity must always be open to anyone. But to dumb down the physical requirements to match a gender-specific requirement is I think wrong. It should be a job-related
or a race requirement, for that matter.
It's always performance-based.
You should have the equal right, and you do have it, whether it's race, religion, gender, to apply yourself for any position. But that should be the outcome of that should be based on the merit.
You're talking crazy talk now. Merit-based? Are you crazy? No,
if you're the best person for the job, then you get the job.
I think
you shouldn't be able to out class, out religion, out race, out gender, whatever, just to fit a requirement or a quota. It doesn't make any sense. And you're thinking, well, it's not such a big deal, if it's in an office environment or whatever, and it may not be. But when it comes down to life-saving positions, I think it makes a difference.
Having done the job both in the military and in the police work, I can tell you I have worked with some of the finest people, men and women, and even the women that I've worked for have been able to do the job. People, I can tell you, whether you're a man or a woman, and I didn't feel you were here, I didn't work with you. In the police department, we do have one standard, and we try to trained to that standard, and I was always very proud to work for the San Antonio Police Department, where we did keep the bar right here.
That's about 5'6".
If I think,
So about 5'4", 5'5".
man, we're down to short jokes.
Let's keep those. I get rid of them.
Just for the record, I'm 5'7". Military at 5'7". I don't want to hear any difference. No, golly. No, but I will tell you that standard shouldn't move, right? But like I said, I never want to make anybody feel like, I mean, I have a mother, I have a sister, I have daughters, and I can tell you that when you're going out into the world, it's okay to want to achieve. I just feel in this modern world, it's a disservice to men and women to tell them you're absolutely the same. And this whole thing of toxic masculinity, I've touched on it before. Every time I hear somebody say that, and I've heard people who are quote unquote educated and they use that term, it immediately turns me off, because I could not in an open setting say a toxic feminist, a toxic femininity, a toxic female. Are you woman-splaining this to me?
A bit of a double standard, isn't it?
A bit. It's tremendous, right? You can openly bash and openly make fun of men. You can openly say, we no longer need men. And no one says anything. No one pushes back. I say to all you mothers and fathers, particularly to mothers, if you're raising young men, this should bother you. But no, we have to sit back and we have to take it.
I certainly hope it does. I have a daughter.
Yeah.
I'm raising a daughter into this world right now. I certainly want her to have every opportunity that's possible
Absolutely.
to her, and for her to be able to live out her dreams. I also don't want her growing up having to take on the responsibilities that every grown man in America should be having to do, period.
I make this joke, I'm sorry, I have made this joke before, where I say, if you believe that my traits as a man, as a protector and a provider, if that's offensive, the next time something goes bump in the night and your husband's laying next to you, you grab the flashlight and go outside.
Yeah.
And he'll tell me well out there, honey.
You go kill that spider.
Go kill that spider, go.
Yeah.
You don't need me.
I want my daughter when she decides, to take that step, and start dating, maybe when she's 45 or 50, I'll let her. No, I want her to, when she decides to get married, I want that man to be a protector and a provider. Mm-hmm. I want to know that, I can count on him to keep my daughter safe. And I think as a father, right now, that's my job. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing that job now. But there's going to come a time where it's not going to be my job anymore. And somebody's going to have to fill my shoes. And I hope that there's a strong man that's going to be there and do that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. No. And I don't know when it became that.
Well, if you look at, and I've preached on this before, but our educational system, they're trying to create a system where everybody goes through college. Everybody goes through public school. And they're teaching in that whole program that, by the way, you qualify for college not based on merit, you qualify based on certain social classes and colors. They're just starting to, those people are graduating, and we're starting to translate that into everything else we do. And they don't understand that it is not based in fact or reality. They don't understand, why can't I identify as this, or why can't I do that? Well, there are certain physical differences that are realities that we just can't avoid. Now, I would go to war to fight for my grandchildren's or my daughter's rights to try anything they want, to achieve anything they can. But at the same time, I'll go to war to make sure my sons and my grandchildren that are male can maintain a masculine posture while keeping their heads up.
Sure.
I think this society's doomed. It is just this view. I mean, like, okay, we just had the Palestinian event in October. The things that those men did were atrocious, and they're playing into the narrative of the socialist, agenda right now, where Israel, on the other hand, is restrained, and they're doing everything they can to do it within the bounds of what a man should do. Now, that military is almost as many women as it is men. But my point,
the Israeli military.
Yes, but their capabilities, they earn it, and they perform in a professional manner.
How many Palestinian women are soldiers?
I don't believe any. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't There
hate
are
to
a lot
say
of them that
blanketly.
were being released from Israeli jails that performed a crime on behalf of Palestine. However,
What kind of act? Like you mean are you talking
it
like a
was, there was
terrorist act?
murder and
Okay.
and
Sure.
sabotage and all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't think they're part of the militia, the military force. I don't believe they're considered this an equivalent level to men.
For me, because I have sons, because I have daughters, I would say that please understand, I've made it very clear to my children, like you said, you can go out in the world and try to achieve anything you want. But my children are also based in truth and in fact that, my daughters understand that they are not physically as strong as a man. And there's nothing, as things are inherently female or traits that women take on, it's okay for a man to stand up in the world and be the provider and be the protector. And I think that's where my head is at when I see society pushing back on that and saying these are bad traits. But time and time again, and I'm not going to mention any names. I just talked to a quote unquote feminist not too long ago. And as we began to dig into it, what they really expect from their husband and what they're looking for, it comes up and they cannot help it but say, I would like a provider. I would like a protector. But I don't call them out on it, but I wondered if they heard it in their own head. You're talking about a masculine man, a traditional man in this society who would step forward, and if you need somebody to work, instead of working 40 hours, I need you 60 hours. Who's doing that? Get out there, young man, and go work. There's something outside. Somebody who's going to do that. Young man, go check that out. Who's going to protect us? Who's going to provide? There's nothing wrong with that. And I say to all you young men out there, push forward, go forward. It's okay to be a man. That's all.
I would add, don't measure your performance by the number of hours. Don't measure your performance by putting in your time. Your performance should be measured by, did I complete the task?
Sure.
Did I achieve the goal? Did I do what was necessary?